Welcome to Autistic People Talking, a podcast where autistic people talk. Hello, everyone. My name is Claire, and this is my channel, Woodshed Theory. Here, I make content about what it is like to live as an adult on the autism spectrum and whatever else feels good to me. So if that sounds good to you, or if you're feeling particularly gracious today, and I hope that you are, please go ahead and click the subscribe button, ring the bell. I almost forgot to mention that I put out videos a few times a week, so click the like and the share. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Autistic People Talking, a podcast where autistic people talk. Today, we have a very special guest and very special. And she is a good friend of mine. We've become good friends over the past few years. And she is a mom. She is on the spectrum. She's mom on the spectrum. Taylor Heaton.
Wham, wham, wham.
Welcome, Taylor. Why don't
Thank
you tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself and why you think you're here?
This is a trick question, why I think I'm here. Okay, I just turned 35. You didn't prepare me for this question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm a mom and I love music. There's my flute and my piccolo. I got a flute degree at TCU, Go Frogs. This is my grandmother's piano from 1949. She won it on a radio broadcast for ABC, a newlywed game show or something, newlywed radio show. Yeah, I've got 2 kids. They're 7 and 10, and we are a neurodivergent family. Recently divorced. I guess it was finalized about a year ago, which has been a really good, positive change in my life. And yeah, I make resources for the autistic community. I was diagnosed at the age of 31, which was like 4 years ago, and it changed my life. And so I just wanted to start teaching about it. So here I am.
Now I'm Claire.
Hi,
Ever
Claire.
watch one of my favorite, like I'm not huge into SNL, but the skit where she's like, "And I'm Denise." That's like
I love I love SNL. It's one of my special interests. I watch it every week. It's on a hiatus, but it'll be back this weekend, so I'm excited.
For some reason I really resonate with Denise because like,
What's your character?
well, because like she's different than her sisters, and I just feel different from other people. So when they're like, "I'm beautiful, I'm happy, and I'm Denise," I feel like that's me.
I love my favorite characters, I think, are Kat and Garth. It's Kristen Wiig and Fred Armisen, and they come out on Weekend Update, or they did forever ago. And it was for holidays, so they'd have like really tacky like Valentine sweaters, and they'd be like, "Oh, I have a new single, you have to check it out." And then like Kristen would just start singing, and Fred would act like he knew exactly what she was singing, and they would like make up a song on the spot but sing it together. And I just felt like that was the greatest thing.
I feel like we could do that.
I know.
We could put
I
out
was
a
like
holiday
trying to
album.
sing. I was trying to sing your interlude with you. I love it.
Wouldn't it be, oh my gosh, we need to do it where I sing it and you play the flute, but it's like a spoof. Oh my gosh, how funny would that be?
That'd be great. We could make a reel out of it. Yeah, so many
Sorry,
possibilities.
I'm looking up because I'm thinking.
Like there are so
That's
many
perfect. I'm going to
possibilities.
use that face for the thumbnail.
Okay, that sounds good. 2 autistics thinking. I was gonna say, like, there's so many different things that you can make, like, not just, I mean, you, like, with all your yarn and everything, you're amazing, but like online, like, how do you decide what to make?
That is such a good question. I was talking about that in my porch copy this morning. Um, not really how I decide what to make, but like that I've chosen probably at the peril of my channel to just make whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's usually I usually will thrift the supplies to be able to make things, and then what I feel like making is what I'll make. Um, in the past, well, I sometimes I try to be, like, seasonal or topical or relevant,
Mhm.
but that puts a lot of weight and pressure on it, so I probably just try and make what feels right at the moment. Yeah, so I don't know that that's much of an answer, Taylor.
No, I think it's a great answer, and I resonate with that a lot because I've been talking about like there's all these prescribed ways of doing business and content creation, but there's so many of them that I don't feel like work for neurodivergent people because to me that
Yes.
just it feels contrived, it feels fake, and I think authenticity is such a big thing within our community. It's like I try to do the same thing too of like, well, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I have energy to talk about. This is what is interesting to me right now. And there's a lot of content and I look out there and it's like it's got titles that are very like, you're missing out if you don't know these 7 things. It's like kind of alarmist almost. It's like those get so many clicks and I'm not like there's no judgment there, but it doesn't feel right to me because it's like
Yeah.
when people come to my channel, I want them to feel like they're not missing anything, like you don't have to keep searching like what you need, you already have. So yeah, I really respect that because I think content creation for the sake of content creation, it's just noise.
Yeah, do you wanna hear about my not really a scandal, but my scandal? So a few
Always.
2 weeks ago, I did a porch coffee, and I did feel like the title that I gave it was a little clickbaity.
Okay.
I think at the moment, I was just feeling the pressure to give a title that people would click on,
Mm-hmm.
and rightfully so, the autistic community called me out on it. So, rightfully I feel like a lot of, people in the comments were like, "I feel like this was clickbait." So, you know what? I went and I changed it. I
Yeah.
changed I changed the title, I changed the thumbnail, and I did a community post and said, "Hey, you know what? You're right, and I'm sorry." Um, I said, "I agree." And that sometimes I do feel the pressure, because you know what?
Yeah.
If I put up a video that says something autism, whatever, those videos, like, those get clicks, and if
Yeah.
I'm just like, "Here's how my week went," automatically, by, like, 2/3, the views
Yeah.
get
It
cut,
totally changes.
and, this is what I've chosen to do as, like, my business and my job, and I do
Mm-hmm.
supplemental things, like, with the Etsy and stuff, um, but, like, I really wanna see it succeed and make it work, and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sometimes I do you ever feel, like, pressure to, like, put out it's hard not to respond to that pressure, I think. Put out
Yeah.
things where you're like, "Will people wanna watch this?"
Yeah. I mean, every day it's an internal battle because like I said, I think that battle of authenticity and versus like I'm a single mom and I want to keep doing this and I want to make money off of this because I love doing it and I love helping people. And then you have the people that are like, with my classes and stuff like, "Oh, I can't believe you're charging for this." And it's like it's just hard because like I want to give all of myself to you. I want to give everything that I can, but it's like it's not that you have to play the game, but at some point, it's like if you want to be successful, you have to give into certain elements of life on social media, And so I think it's exactly what you did. It's like it's kind of trial and error, and sometimes we're going to cross the line. And I think the cool thing about our community in particular is that there's a lot of grace,
Yeah,
especially when you're trying to be authentic, And so I love that about our community. That's like I feel like I can experiment. And when something doesn't work, I can be like, whoa, like, sorry, I should have worded that differently or whatever. But yeah, it is a constant struggle of wanting to be authentic, but also, finding ways to keep the lights on and like make money through content creation. So it's a
right.
tricky topic.
I know I talked to Orion about this before on the podcast. Go back and watch that if, you please, everyone listening. It's not that autistic creators, I think even with huge audiences, it's not that it's, like, making bank, okay? So,
Yeah.
it's not like, "Oh, where am I gonna put all this cash?"
Yeah.
It's more like, "Okay, well, I have to be concerned too," like,
Yeah.
we're and also, we're not, I think I'm very grateful that, I'm able to live on my own, and um, I have the I have that ability, but that doesn't mean that I'm not struggling with keeping it all together, right? Like
Yeah.
struggling with executive functioning and doing
Mhm.
things. So
Well, and that's a side too. It's like when I'm making a video, I'm not making a video when I'm in a state of chaos, like when I'm in a state of burnout and executive dysfunction. And so I always try to tell people, like, you got to remember what you're seeing online. It's like I'm recording from usually from a place where I'm pretty well regulated and there's just so much behind the scenes where like there's some days when I stay in bed most of the day, even though it's a work day. And it's like there's a lot that you don't see behind the scenes for like I'll tell people if I teach a big class or something, I pretty much take the rest of the day off. I can be there and I can be present and I can run the class well, but I have to like save up energy for that and then recover after. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that, people don't see and forget about.
can I ask you about something?
No, sure.
I've seen posts and even videos from people saying that people who aren't medically trained should not be talking about help, or should not be providing help or charged help for people who are on the spectrum. And I'm sure you've seen those things as well. So I guess my question is, how do you respond to that? Like what are your feelings on that? Because you are somebody who, I think rightfully so, provides classes and support to people in the autism community.
hmm
And you are an educated person, but you're not medically trained. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about it. I mean, first of all, it's a choice. It's an exchange of services. It's like you're offering money to me to teach you a class because you feel like I have something of value. So it's like anybody who comes to my events, they do it willingly. I'm not like, let me teach you, I have a
And I don't
disclaimer.
think you're like, I'm gonna fix you or any, like, I don't
No,
think you're like that.
no, it's nothing. And I have a disclaimer on everything. Like before you sign up for a class, you have to, click a disclaimer. I'm not a medical provider. I'm not a therapist. And so I feel like I'm very upfront about everything. This is my lived experience. Here's the other thing. A lot of people who are certified to talk about autism are doing a lot of damage. A lot of people are promoting false stereotypes. They are keeping people from getting the care that they need. So the bottom line for me is if it doesn't work for you, that's great. Keep scrolling. Like there are so many other things to focus your attention on. If it does work for you, I've had people, and I'm just saying this because we're talking about this topic. I've had people tell me like my class has helped them more than years of therapy, and that's not for everybody, but it's just you have to be your own guide. And if it feels like something that's going to be helpful to you, sure. But if not, like I would never tell anybody, oh, you just need to try it and find out. Like, sure, if it's not speaking to you, like there's other things to focus your attention on.
Well, I appreciate you responding to that because I felt like it was maybe too much of an intrusive question, but I've seen things about it. People have opinions, which is totally okay. And I was wondering what you thought about that because you are somebody who charges for classes, and in my mind, I don't think you would ever say anything like that had to do with like medical advice. Like I feel like you would point somebody to a doctor if, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you have.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
I try to walk that line as gracefully as I can, but my classes are all based on personal experience and like you said, I'll point you to medical resources. But yeah, my classes actually are like one of my favorite parts of what I do because it's an invitation to connect. Like YouTube is such a big platform, but when we come off of that platform and like have a small group discussion, there are so many incredible conversations that happen as a result of that. And it's just that format is actually it's been a really incredible thing for me to utilize in my life. So I'm happy to have it.
yeah, I don't see how it's much different than other forms of support that other people put out there, like having a Discord or something like that. It's just more personal. So
Mhm.
I think what you do is wonderful, and you provide a safe space for um, autistic people to meet and share their feelings and their and their concerns, and I think that that's amazing because I know that when I was in group therapy myself, just being around other people, not that what you're providing is necessarily therapy, but, like, providing an environment to be in a group with other people and to have a shared experience, I think is such a healing and wonderful thing,
Mhm.
and I want to say thanks for all your hard work.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I feel honored every day to do the work. I mean, one other thing I was thinking about with this question is, and I have obviously, I need to say it, you always feel like you have to have so many disclaimers when you talk online. I have tremendous amount of respect for the medical profession, for therapists, for the work that they do. A lot of times those medical professionals, like once you get certified, sometimes the education tapers off and you become much more focused with like clients and your practice. Autistic people are the best researchers in the world. Like we continue to research, we continue to learn, we continue to be fascinated about the subject. And so that's one thing that I think that neurodivergent educators really have going for them is just that thirst and hunger for like there's always more that I can learn. So yeah, but thank you for your compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for addressing a hard topic with me.
Hey, I like going there and I like addressing hard, awkward, difficult topics. It's much better than small talk. So
I hope I poised it well and because my aggressive, well, maybe aggressive isn't the right word, but like, sometimes as an autistic person, I don't think about how I'm gonna say things. So I was trying not to be like, some people think what you do is wrong.
no, it didn't come across that way. And I would never label you as aggressive. So
Well, maybe you should get to know me better. You don't know me at all. Sorry, everyone who's listening, I'm joking because Taylor and I are actually friends. So
yeah, we're friends.
yeah, we texty.
Yeah, we do. We do. No big deal. We text about sometimes some of the silly things that y'all say to us in the comments. We don't have to keep
Calling
that
us out. No, I talked about that with Meg. Who was at like she said that sometimes when she gets like really crazy comments, she'll post it on your Discord. Sometimes you have to like
yeah.
bounce it off somebody because it's so like you just have to share the weight sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, and it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because our community is so blunt and I love it. I love it and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, please tell me exactly what you're thinking. I love that. It's just with that sometimes it's like, whoa, I wasn't prepared for that. Like I
And
was
I
really
wouldn't say the
intense.
stuff that gets sent around or whatever. Usually it's not from the community. Usually it's
Yeah.
just like it's not people from the community.
It's
Usually
like
it's
those
like haters.
outliers that just kind of pop in to make a comment.
Yeah, they're like I just it constantly surprises me like with people who like they're not thinking about what their comments are going to do to other
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
or like the effect that they're going to have on other people. They're just like just popping in to let you know this is my thoughts on
Just
this.
in case.
You're
Yeah.
not autistic, bye. Which is why I think I'm very, like, adamant about unless you are close to somebody and know them, you shouldn't just be popping into their life and being like, "Hey, I know we just met. Think you're on the spectrum, bye."
Yeah. Usually doesn't go over so great.
No, like, what? No, autistic people we do have feelings. You
Yeah,
can just throw
absolutely.
somebody into a state of dysregulated, panic, and it's not fair to them. There are
Yeah.
better ways to handle it.
Yeah.
So, other questions. What's it like having a fairly successful YouTube venture for those of us who are wondering? Okay, no, that's not what I'm but yes. Uh no, how does it feel like when you started your channel what like 3.5 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe
And did
2 years.
you ever like did you think that this is what was going to happen? Did you think that you were going to make videos and start support groups and like, was this always your goal, or what was going through your mind when you started a channel?
I mean, that my life was everything was so tumultuous at that time. I mean, think I started in 2021. So at that time, pandemic, and I was in the midst of like a career upheaval because I realized that I was autistic. And so I realized that I've been teaching flute lessons for a decade, and that was starting to unravel. I was trying to see like I'm good at that, but I don't like it. Like there's a lot of sensory overwhelm, and I talk about that more in other places. But so I was so, as we do, we get so intensely focused on new things that we want to research, and autism just immediately became my special interest once I got my diagnosis. And so, really, I think I first started the channel to kind of give my kids a guidebook for how to navigate autistic challenges. Because they, at the time, especially, they were, let's see, when I started the channel, I think they were 4 and 7. So just, not the right time to have these big conversations about, conceptual ideas of living with autism. So it's like, well, let me just start kind of leaving them signposts and talking about how this has changed my life. And so while I was doing that, I feel like this is a very autistic way of answering your question in like a long, a large format. But I was also trying to get
All the
certified.
details or
Mhm.
none of the details. That's how
That's
you
right.
roll.
That's right. I was also trying to get certified in software development because I was thinking I was going to pivot into a career doing that. And so actually what happened is sometimes the universe, I don't know if you've had this experience, but it just like shows you that something's not supposed to happen. It's like no
Mhm.
matter how much I tried, the software development path was just, it was like door closing after door closing after door closing. And it just became like so energy intensive to keep trying to pursue that. And meanwhile, I was having these little glimmers of kind of like, oh, this could be something on YouTube, like it could be something. And so there's kind of a point, like I guess at this time, my marriage was kind of, it was becoming obvious that things were headed, towards divorce. And so that was very scary because it's like, I have this baby YouTube idea, a flute career that I'm trying to leave behind, and a couple of software development certifications. And I was terrified. But I just kind of along with divorce comes this kind of a renaissance of like, who am I and what do I want and what's important to me? And I,
That paired with an autism diagnosis where you go
yes.
through that too.
Yeah, that was all happening at the same time. I mean, my whole entire life was in a blender, and I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I felt, I've been learning how to listen more to my intuition and what feels right, and I think it was in December of 22. I was just like, I'm going to give this everything that I've got, and this is like I'm betting on myself. And so yeah, I just started kind of opening myself up to, well, I'll take on one-on-ones, and I'll, maybe somebody would like a class over this. And so I just started putting all these opportunities on the calendar to teach, but then also to try to make this more of a viable source of income because, like Claire mentioned, it's people see these numbers on the channel and they think, oh, you're getting a lot of money, but like the ad revenue is not enough to sustain you as a YouTuber. It's just, I mean, maybe when you're mega and you have millions of subs and stuff like that, but you really have to build in a lot of avenues of support. And so, anyways, yeah, just to answer your question, I still have days. I This might be weird to say, but like I texted my best friend the other day because I was looking for one of my resources and I just typed in like I was trying to find a shortcut to it and I Googled it. And when I typed in my name, Google popped up and it said like internet personality, like Taylor Heaton, like internet personality. And I was like, what is happening? Was like, there's still these moments where I'm like, I'm just a person. So there's just these moments of where I'm like, I guess this is, it's taken off and it's kind of had a life of its own. And I'm loving it. And I truly am really grateful every day, especially for the flexibility it gives me to be there for my kids and to create that kind of flexible lifestyle. So that was a long-winded response.
I love it. No, and didn't I do oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But I'm like, didn't I do such a good job listening? You guys have to
You
understand,
did.
okay? Please understand that uh pre-diagnosis me and ooh, makes me sorry, I always say this, it makes me a little emotional. Pre-diagnosis me, pre getting help for OCD me, I couldn't listen at all. So like listening to somebody talk for long periods of time and not being like, uh, let me like I have to share like and not being able to listen. Like it's very thanks for the heart. It's very relaxing to me or very like it feels very good to have gotten better at it and letting other people share their feelings and like holding space or being able to hold space for other people. More emojis. It feels really freeing and yeah, sorry. So yeah, happy to
Yeah.
talk. Listen, listen,
Yeah,
listen.
I'm proud of you. That's really great. It's important to like reflect on your growth and how you've changed, you know.
Yeah,
Sometimes we forget to do that.
I I felt like I couldn't listen to what other people were saying and like I struggled with being able to delayed processing and all of that. Like I still feel like I have that, but I'm not thinking I remember, like when you're in college and they're like trying to teach you like what does listening really mean? And they're
Yeah.
telling you that like it means not thinking about what you're going to say next and not, and I'm like, how are people doing this?
Yeah.
How are people like taking on this information? Because I had so many things going on that like I couldn't
Hmm.
hear what was going on. Anyway, so please talk as long as you'd like.
Well, and that's difficult for me too. Like I'm learning how to take up space because for a long time I've just felt like that's one thing that's been crazy about YouTube too is like I can't believe that people just want to watch a video of me because a lot of times I feel like I have a hard time taking up space and feeling like when I start talking that people are actually listening. So it's wild to me. It's wild to me that people value what I have to say. I'm really grateful for that.
They really do value what you have to say. And I'm not saying that I'm shocked or anything. It's just it's so cool. Here's something that I'm curious about. So,
Okay.
your what's the word I'm looking for? Moniker? Your name is Mom on the Spectrum. Is that the
Yeah.
word you're looking for? Moniker? No,
I
it's
think so. It sounds good. I think it's moniker.
okay, thanks. Your
Mhm.
moniker is Mom on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Who do you think your biggest audience is? Do you think that your biggest audience is parents of autistic children? Or do you think your biggest audience is autistic people who are parents? Like, do you get a mix or
I think it's late diagnosed autistic people. Um, and it's interesting because I do get more requests to do more parenting content, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't come. I think I'm hesitant to put more content out there right now, just because parenting a neurodivergent kid, you just cannot make a formula for it. There's no, it's like there's just no way to um really, sorry, my mother's calling me. There's no way to,
we're busy, mom?
you're busy, we're having a girls chat. So I guess I'm just hesitant because I want to be really respectful about that topic and make sure that I'm just approaching it the right way. I also get a lot of requests to talk about pregnancy, which is really interesting because I haven't been pregnant in like 8 years. And so that feels like I don't even I didn't know I was autistic. I had no idea. So trying to think back through, well, what was it like to be pregnant? Not only that, what was it like to be undiagnosed autistic pregnant? So anyways, I think there's a lot more parenting content that people are looking for that I want to introduce. It just hasn't felt right. So in the meantime, I felt like I mean, I just have a pretty big array of, I think, late diagnosed autistic adults, anywhere from like late 20s to, I have 70-year-olds on the channel.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It has been really interesting. I did a short where I asked people how old they were when they were late diagnosed or how old they were in general. And that was a very eye-opening moment for me about who my demographic is. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's so interesting because, like, usually it's people who are around our age. And then on top of that, it's like older people, um, 70s. Not that you're old or you're just older than me,
Older, yes.
older than me. which I guess I hadn't really thought about it this way before, but like um resources are needed for all age groups, you know.
Mhm.
I get a
Yeah.
lot of comments about like what resources. And actually we did get a comment. I asked my subscribers what they'd want to hear about from you. And one of the things, or maybe the only thing, who knows? I haven't read all the comments yet. Um, and it's only been this morning. One of the things that they were talking about was what resources have we used that have been helpful, as in like therapies, or could you speak to that since you've been diagnosed? Like what do you feel like resource wise has been helpful for you? Like, is there a specific therapy or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty basic over here. So after my evaluation, I my evaluating psychologist recommended a psychologist that I'm seeing now that I'm really grateful for, who specializes in autism, understands autism, and that's been like the most helpful thing to me is just, and honestly, I feel like therapy's been so good for me because it's just given me a space to take up space, like
Mm-hmm.
to for somebody to see my autistic tendencies and to be like, yeah, like that's how, that's how you're wired, and let's create more space to, accept your patterns. And um, so that, but also I have to say, it's not something I've personally done, but I've heard occupational therapy. So a lot of times that's recommended just for kids, but there are occupational therapists for adults as well. And that can be incredibly life-changing for autistic adults to help better manage like everyday autistic stressors. And then the other thing I would mention is EMDR therapy, which I can never remember on the spot what it stands for, but it's like the eye movement desensitization. Yeah. And a lot of people within the community, especially who have gone through trauma or are dealing with CPTSD, have experienced a lot of great results with the EMDR therapy.
That's a great answer because I was like, I don't know, because I don't feel like I've done some therapy, and I have had some help, but I remember being diagnosed and the doctor who diagnosed me I was like, well, what are next steps? Because
Yeah.
autism.
What's the protocol? Yeah.
Um, and they were like, no, just keep working on your OCD stuff, and that's all they had to say. They had nothing to give me.
Yeah.
I feel like I turned to uh a lot of YouTube and things like that to get support and like figure out what other people were doing. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that you have that insight. I feel too that I do feel that I find autism interesting because it's something I have, but it's not like my special interest like it is for other people.
Hmm.
I don't always feel like I'm the best person to get information from, as far as like when people have like, oh, well, what should I do? And what's this? And what's this term mean? And I'm like, point them to other people because I do feel like autistic people with a special interest are the best resource for information. Like if you have a question about yarn, I'm here for you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really important for you to recognize too. I think, and it's kind of like you said, just creating content based on what you actually want to talk about and not pretending to be something you're not. I mean, it's also just a great example. Like, not all of us in the community have a special interest in autism. That's going
Mhm.
to help other people feel more seen because a lot of us do, but not all of us. And what you said about connecting with the community, I mean, that's one of the best resources too, is just finding a way to hear others' stories. To ask questions within the community, and that can be on YouTube. There's other online communities. But that's like been one of the most helpful things to me, is because then you start realizing I'm not making this up. I'm not being oversensitive. I'm not, there's actually other people that experience the same thing every day, and I'm in really good company. So I think that community element is really important too.
Absolutely. I think as far as like my suggestion to most people, like I get a lot of like, I'm autistic now, what questions? And my biggest thing is like learning about your sensory needs, I'd say for me is number one.
Yeah.
Learning about them to be able to put words and terms to how you're feeling.
Mhm.
and to be able to um, recognize your feelings as you're going through them. To me, that's like the biggest help. And that's what I suggest to people, like learning about your sensory needs, learning to be able
Mhm.
to speak to them, and also to be able to share those needs, have the vocabulary to share those needs with other people.
Yeah.
Like as before we got on, everyone, we were chit-chatting a bit about how I'm feeling extremely emotionally dysregulated recently. Um, I'm just feeling so overwhelmed. And it's a big deal that I have been able to tell my spouse that I'm feeling that way,
Mhm.
and not just and not just hold off until I have a meltdown, and that's how they find out about how I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's
Like, that's
huge.
that's a big deal. Um, and not just flip out and take it out on somebody.
Mhm.
Um, to me, that is amazing growth for me. So, like, that's my biggest thing, is to be able to learn to recognize that I'm feeling a certain way,
Mhm.
be able to put words to it. Because I think pre-diagnosis, I would not have been able to say, like, "I am feeling very overwhelmed. I'm having some severe sensory issues,
Mhm.
and I you don't need to do anything. If you do, I'll let you know, but I
Mhm.
need you to know that's how I'm feeling."
Yeah.
Big deal.
That's huge. And just, so that your partner knows like it's not personal. It's just this is how I'm processing information and I just need some space to work through it. But yeah, that's huge. And I think, people have asked me what's the biggest change I've made since my diagnosis. I think along with what you've said is just adding more rest into my life, which is extremely difficult because I have not had that in my life. Like before my autism diagnosis, I'm very focused on productivity and perfectionism and, you know, working all the time. And so I've just tried to incorporate more rest into my schedule intentionally before I need it, before I'm burnt out to the point of needing it. And that's been really hard, but like one of the best changes that I think I've made since my diagnosis.
How do you feel that what has been the result? Do you feel that adding rest resulted in? Like, what has that helped with?
Everything. I mean, I think when I prioritize rest, other things just fall into place much more easily. I have more capacity to deal with sensory overwhelm. I'm not just like hovering under the threshold of like I'm gonna be super irritable and like overwhelmed. It's like when I rest, it reduces that boiling point, to where I can tolerate more overwhelm. And then it also just helps me emotionally regulate more because my nervous system is not, I think autistic people, our nervous system is often on high alert and sensory overwhelm and processing. And when you rest, it gives it a chance to kind of catch up and like reboot the system. So I think it helps with all of that.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Tell me about, as a late diagnosed person, tell me about the role that disclosure plays in your life. Now, I know that you're out and about on the internet, so people know, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the people that you meet in person know.
Hmm.
So, do you disclose your autism to other people? And if so, why? Tell us a little bit about that. Are you just, when you walk out of the house, are you like, surprise?
I'm autistic.
Throws glitter?
Well, I mean, I think as most of us do, I live a pretty private life, which is funny because I'm on the internet like so openly, but like,
Boring, right?
yeah,
I feel
like
like I'm a boring person.
Like I like to stay home. I mean, my family lives close. My whole family knows I'm autistic. I don't I have a couple of close friends. We hang out every now and then, but for the most part, it's just me and my kids. I mean, I've spoken at career day at the school, and so I would assume that some people up there know, like people were, if people were talking about, my presentation over neurodiversity last year. But one really interesting thing that I don't mind talking about is that I don't know how much I've shared with you about this process, Claire, but like I've been dating this past year, and that's really interesting
That's
because
crazy. Yeah, I've seen people do
yeah,
videos on like how to disclose when you're dating and when to disclose.
yeah.
I haven't watched them because that sounds awkward to watch.
Oh,
So,
it's so weird for me too because there's no way I have thought of to talk about what I do for work without coming to the point of saying that I'm autistic because it's like, well, what gives you the right to teach about autism? Why are you teaching about autism if you're not a therapist? Why are you teaching about autism if you're not, licensed? Like, so it's, the only way I feel like I can talk about my work, I don't want to say like I'm a mental health coach without having certifications, So I'm like, well, I'm a YouTuber. I talk about autism and ADHD, and they're like, how'd you get into that? So I end up sharing it pretty much, pretty close to right off the bat. And I'm like, it's a pretty good indicator of how a person's going to be in terms of like navigating differences, like how are they going to respond to, um, something that they may not know a whole lot about. Like, are they going to be curious? Are they going to be judgmental? So that's been really, really interesting. But for the most part, I've been like pleasantly surprised. So that's been good.
yeah, I guess that would be my next question. Like, how has the response been? Like, have you ever been like ghosted afterwards? And do you think it's because of that, or has the response been like, okay?
I don't think I've been ghosted. But it's the surprising response is that most people are like, "Oh, I think I'm ADHD. I think that I've got something." Like everybody kind of connects to it and they're like, "I think my brain's kind of different too." So like most people and then they'll start talking to me like, "Do you think I'm ADHD? Do you think I'm autistic?" So it's like, oh, I'm not here to make the diagnosis, but I think actually like more often than not, it actually opens up the conversation for mental health where people are like, "Well, I actually have some of those concerns too." So it's
Mm.
been pretty cool. And then I have to like exercise the boundary of like, okay, I'm on a date. I don't want to like be talking about autism the whole time, because then people get really interested and I'm like, well, I don't really want to talk about this right now because I do it
Yeah,
all
it's like
day.
when like somebody discloses that they're a nurse and people are like,
Yeah.
"Can you look at this?"
Take my temperature, like, yeah, exactly. So that's been interesting too, because it's like, I'm glad that you're interested, but also I don't really want to talk about this right now.
Yeah, that's so hard. Because I think you'd want to let people know. I feel like the longer that it went, the more awkward it would be to bring it up later.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like that. Like once I've reached a certain point, it's like I feel like I should have told them by now. That's happened maybe once or twice, but
Yeah, and then it's like then later it becomes like well, were you masking? Or
yeah,
like yeah, it's very complicated.
yeah,
You should do more content about dating because I feel like
yeah,
that's something that a lot of autistic people need information about.
yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I mean, it's definitely like I don't know. I feel like some people pry a little bit, which I mean, I've put myself out there on the internet and I have this unique approach of like, well, my job is all about autism. So it's like that really changes things for me in the dating world. So yeah, I want to find some ways to like make it relevant to where it can help other people. But it's definitely interesting to navigate. I do feel like the dating process is really good for unmasking because it's like the stakes are really low. Like I'm not looking for anything. I'm just having fun and getting to know new people and um the stakes are low. So it's like who do I want to be? Like who do I feel like I am? And uh I might never see this person again. So how do I want to show up right now? So it's really interesting. It's like terrifying but exhilarating and exciting and cool.
Well, I mean, that's probably a good segue. Talking about dating is a good segue to talk about how you on your channel have been tackling a bunch of taboo topics recently.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit more about how do you have for me, I'm like I'm not there yet. We talked about it personally.
Hmm.
Like you've been tackling some taboo topics. Where has that come from? Because I think you haven't always tackled taboo topics. Like,
Yeah.
where does that come from? Why now? And yeah, talk a little bit more about that.
Where does it come from? Why now? Well, I think like I really, even though I maybe haven't tackled taboo subjects in the past, I'm really not scared about it. Like I love tough conversations and I've done a lot of really hard work to feel like I'm really confident in who I am and what I want. And so if other people kind of buck up against what I'm talking about, it's like, okay, you can freak out if you want, like you can get upset and freak out, but like I feel confident talking about this. So I think for me, it partially comes from I'm extremely different than my family. And I'm on
Mhm.
really good terms with them. Like I love my family and they're supportive of me and we have good relationships. But I'm like cut from a different cloth a lot of times, I feel like. Um, and so I've had to just do a lot of self-reflection and making peace with the fact that I have very different views than people that I love more than anything in the world. And that's been incredibly challenging to go through that. But I think on the other side of it, I'm just like, you know what? I've just made peace with the fact that even the people closest to me sometimes are going to have, just vehemently different opinions as to what I hold. And so I've just made peace with it. I kind of have fun talking about taboo stuff. I like creating space for it because I think there's a lot of shame and I hate it. Like that's just it's unnecessary. Like shame holds us back from so much. And I think, you know, somebody told me a long time ago, if you can't talk about it, it owns you. And I've always tried to live by that principle. If there's something I can't talk about, that's really holding me back from like being my full potential. So I just want people to feel like we can talk about this. There doesn't have to be shame. And anytime I can help break down those barriers, yeah, I'm happy to do it.
I'm
As far
very,
as like,
very proud to be your friend.
oh, thank you. That's sweet. I'm trying to think of like what spurred this particular series. I think there's just always been like a request to talk more about it. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I just for whatever reason it's really interesting too because I just started working with a video editor and it took me forever to like actually start working with somebody. And this is the first series I gave him to work on. And I gave him all these disclaimers. I'm like, this is sensitive material. Like, let me know if you're uncomfortable with this. But it's just kind of funny because it's the first time I've ever hired somebody to edit my work. And it's like all of this like sex and sexuality and all of that. So,
Well, I think I kind of mentioned this when I was talking to Orion. I'm very happy that you are talking about it because if not you, then who? If not the autistic community, then who? And there is, from my perspective, there needs to be more autistic people stepping up and saying things and talking about their lives because there are so many people who will get up and talk about autistic people and what
mhm.
they're like. And that isn't necessarily the kind of representation that we need. We need to talk about ourselves and how we feel about the topics. So I think it's great that you're doing that. Yeah, do you ever feel like that? Like there's a lot of people who talk about autistic people, but they're not autistic.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me more about working with a video editor. It's very new for you. I know
Yeah.
that. What made you make that decision to move in that direction? And what were some of your what was there anything that like gave you pause or made you apprehensive and what made you decide to take the plunge?
Yeah, so I'm a single parent. I mean, I co-parent with my kid's dad, but I pick up my kids pretty much every day from school. Um, so my work day is pretty short. I mean, I leave to pick them up around 2:45, and I can get a little bit of work done whenever they get home, but not usually. So I have a finite amount of time and I want to get to more like creative endeavors. And I found myself just constant. The thing I'm struggling with right now is a lot of administrative stuff and like answering emails and doing troubleshooting. And so I wanted to free up more time to create new stuff. And so I hired Dan as a business coach from the Aspie world, and he's been awesome. And so has kind of helped me like restructure some things. And suggested like the first hire that I make be a video editor. And that was super, super scary. But, this is something that takes a lot of time from week to week. And I was like, okay, well, this is one thing I could outsource to help free up more space. And I established this connection a few months ago, but it took me so long to actually turn anything over to him because I just was frozen. I was like, this is too big of a change. It's too big of a routine change. It's, too much control to give somebody else.
No,
And
I mean, I had a big
yeah,
conversation with Orion about this, and I actually messaged you before I put the Orion conversation up to let you know, like, hey, we're not talking about you,
yeah,
um, like in particular, but yeah, it's a big deal to hand off editing to somebody else.
yeah. Yeah, so it was scary, but like I did it and I survived and I did it for a very, taboo series like autism and sexuality
Well,
and
now everything will be easy from here.
yeah, right? Like so it's all downhill from here. But he's been great. I feel like he's very professional and he's added like I feel like he's done a great job of understanding my message and then elevating it through his video editing work. So, yeah, it's been really scary and it kind of shut me down for a while. Like I wasn't even able to really shoot videos because I was very resistant. But it was one of
Isn't
those
that
things
weird?
where,
Like you couldn't even shoot it because you knew that
mhm.
somebody else was going to edit it.
Yeah, it was very weird. It's a weird experience for sure. It's
Hmm.
difficult. It's different recording too, because while I'm recording it, I'll like start over more times. And like, I don't want him to see me and like thinking through. So it's just a
Are you
whole
like
new
one of those
animal.
people who pre-cleans before they have a cleaner come over? Did you or do you just send them the raw footage?
So I'm a little bit of a pre-cleaner. I'm trying to get better, but yeah, a little bit of a pre-cleaner for sure.
Don't edit before he edits.
Well, I know. It's just one of those things where I have a really hard time. So transitions, like me starting a video, like I will start 10 times before I actually like am able to work through my video. And so that's where I struggle is like I keep cutting out the front and I just need to, I know, I just need
Oh,
to
I'm
give
not,
it.
I'm just teasing you because I'm not ready. I'm not at the place yet where I think that I need it. I don't have kids and this is my job and like so I've got the time and it's something not that you don't enjoy doing it. It's just something I enjoy doing and learning about.
Mhm.
But the thought of actually like I don't know if people ever ask you like, well, how do you handle I don't know that people ask me this, but like I assume that people would be like, well, how do you handle like knowing that thousands of people are going to watch what you're doing? I just pretend that they don't. Like I get that I answer comments and I get that they and I get that they watch it, but they get to see a finished version of what I choose for them to see.
Yeah.
And I get to say things in the exact way that I want to be understood.
Hmm.
So, like the idea, like I've talked to many autistic creators, and and I'm like, we don't have other people in the room with us when we film. Like, we don't want
Hmm.
people to listen to us while we film. Like,
Hmm.
it feels very like that's too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I applaud you for taking the plunge because I think you're at the point where you need, you know, as you grow, you'll need extra support and that build the team out and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's scary. It's been a big step, but I think it's been for the best.
Yeah, girl, you show autistic people that it's possible. And also, now that you mentioned Dan, I'll put the information up on the screen for people who are watching at home, and not just listening. Dan is having a autism conference,
Hmm.
International Autism Conference. And we'd love to just shout that out for him.
Is it called the Social Summit, I think? Autism Social Summit.
Right.
And Paige Lale's going to be there too. I think it's in Toronto, Canada in April.
This coming April
I
or
think so.
next April? Wow, so fast.
So yeah,
So we'll put that information up there so that we can support other autistic creators, and it's a big deal. So good on you, Dan, for all the work you're putting in.
it's going to be cool. I wish I could go. I just I'm submitted to renew my passport because my passport was expired. So hopefully I can take advantage of more international opportunities.
Autistic lady having her passport expire? Shocking.
Well, I hadn't used it and I haven't used it maybe in a decade.
So weird because like as a heavily masked, undiagnosed person, I was traveling all over the world.
Oh yeah, you have like a yeah, you have a pretty cool background with your traveling, so
But then yeah, but then the last time I used my passport, it was like, oh, I need to renew. It's going to be expired when I go on my trip. And also like a lot of places don't if your passport is gonna expire in like 5 months from your trip,
yeah.
they want it they want
Yeah.
a new one. So be careful out there, international travelers.
Yes.
Be prepared, which is not easy for autistic people, but if you have a passport, go check it right now. That's go check it, see if you need to renew it.
That's our clickbait title, like beware, like make sure your passport is expired or else.
How do you come up with your titles?
I feel like mine are very wordy, and a lot of times I'm just like, screw it. I do not care what the algorithm thinks about it. I don't want to come up with a clickbaity title. But I don't know. I just try to be so practical. Like, this is what the video is about, you know? Like, this is the video. It's about this. So a lot of times it's not super catchy, but I feel better about that.
I struggle not to on my thumbnails, like maybe they shouldn't like I just want to put the exact title on my thumbnail and then on the title. But like
Hmm.
you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I think the biggest thing I've struggled with as a quote unquote content creator is like um I have all of these like internal like innate like this is what a creator does and
Yeah.
this is how I need to do it. And I've just learned that every time I let go of one of those things, even though it's scary for me, like the need to control and what I think is right, every time I let go of one of those things, my channel gets bigger and better. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I find that too. I mean, and I have this thought that like I feel like the algorithm is going to catch up to us, where it's like we can sniff out BS. Like we can sniff out the clickbaity content. And I think more and more people are becoming savvy to that. And I feel like surely marketing is going to gravitate towards more authentic, like this is actually what you're getting and not clickbait titles. So I don't know. But I think you're right. The more you lean into what feels right for you and your channel and more authentic, like the more it's going to grow for sure.
yeah, and I've said this before, you know, when the algorithm is ready to acknowledge that the kind of content people want is a middle-aged lady talking about autism and yarn, I will be there with open arms.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, I think hopefully collectively we can just start to understand that what we focus on, we create more of. And like, as we take in more content that's just like fear mongering and, current drastic state of affairs, it's like, I hope the algorithm can start promoting more. We're starting to see this uptick of like learning about emotional regulation and feeling calm. And like, I hope that we can start focusing on and prioritizing more of those things. I mean, people will say it doesn't make as much money, but like it's just because that hasn't been the model so far. Like we can switch the model, like we can start prioritizing things that bring us a greater feeling of overall health and wellness. It doesn't have to be that we're clicking on all the doomsday stuff. So I think there's kind of a shift in consciousness happening that I hope will continue on that path.
Yeah, I mean, it always makes me interested to see what does well. And it's definitely, you know, I wish that the algorithm, could move away from, you know, the thing it pushes out is like it'll be autism, but then something like negative,
Yeah.
or it has negative implications, like
Yeah.
scaring people, like not, well, maybe not scaring isn't maybe the right word, but this idea of like, you know, I've made these videos too, like 10 signs it's autism. And so
Oh,
like
and there's nothing
what
wrong
does
with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but what does that do? It makes a person go, do I have like I need to know
Yeah.
me
And,
and
and I mean, I've made videos like that too. Like sometimes there's a time and place for it. I just
Mhm.
think like generally speaking, I hope the algorithm can help us start focusing more on like content that makes you feel better and not worse.
Right, yeah. I'll cut this part out, but are you okay to do another round after this thing shuts off? Or do you have to be somewhere?
I forgot to eat lunch and I'm really hungry.
Okay, no, it'll just be a shorter podcast and then maybe I won't cut this out now and people will be like, so people won't be like, why is it shorter than the other one?
Oh.
Because we're friends and she doesn't have to pretend around
Oh, well,
here.
there you go. Yeah, and I'm trying to set boundaries of like, I know that I'm hungry and I need to eat. And so old people pleaser would be like, yeah, sure, let's do another round. But I would just be thinking about food the whole time and I wouldn't be super present.
Oh, that's fine. Before I had like 15 minutes to go before we started talking and I'm like in the kitchen like eggs, like trying to make something because I was like, I am so hungry. I will not have a good time if I don't eat something.
Yeah. Thanks for understanding.
Oh, I don't understand you.
Can you hear my creaky chair over here? I'm worried it's coming through on the microphone.
No, I can't, but I don't have good hearing.
Oh,
Uh, so maybe people will pick it up. But speaking of microphones, I've switched to better audio. I hope everyone's noticed that I've been trying to make your experience better. Look, if I move to the side, you can see my fancy.
oh, nice.
Yes, it is it isn't technically mine. It is our family's. But
Cool.
I've been when I originally did my channel, I was using it to do voiceovers for some of my videos, but I can't get it to work with my editing software right now, and I don't know why.
Hmm.
Send help.
Yeah.
Oh, but that I think that's a good point where people are like, "Well, I'm not ready to do videos or I'm not ready to do this." I'm like, "You don't have to have it perfect. Just start."
No, my first videos were so low budget and so low quality, like for a while.
Yeah, and you know what? Just get started.
Yeah, just get
Um,
started. And I have so many comments like this intro music is annoying. This is too flashy. Your mic sucks. It's like, yeah, it did. It all did, and that was all true, but you know,
you got to start somewhere.
you got to start somewhere.
And you know what? We'll, Taylor and I, if you get started, we'll be here to support you. Get
Yeah, just
started
let us know.
somewhere.
And
I
let me
love
know. I'll put
I
it in
love
the big
watching
autistic.
people. Sorry.
I'll put it in the big I was just saying I'll put it in the big autistic resource guide if you have a business that you start that you want to promote. So
Yeah, and also one of the comments I get a lot on these podcasts is, are you only going to talk to YouTubers? So here's the thing, people. Yes, but no. No, I don't only want to talk to YouTubers. It is not easy to find people who want to be on camera and feel comfortable talking about their autism.
Mhm.
So the podcast is new. Please be patient with me. We'll find other people to talk to.
Yeah, I was looking, I mean, you've found a lot of really interesting people so far. So yeah, just keep doing you.
Yeah, so yeah, there'll be other kinds of other people who aren't YouTubers on eventually. Just, give me a minute.
What's wrong with YouTubers?
So much. So much. Did you ever like when you hear like people finally make the connection where they're like, it seems like a lot of YouTubers and people on social media tend to like have ADHD or autism or something. And I'm like, I wonder why that is.
Yeah,
We just want to be alone in our homes.
working for ourselves,
Maybe.
processing.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I
Of
hope
course.
everyone enjoys it. You have been requested several times,
Cool.
and people want to hear what you're all about. So why don't you let us know? Do you have any last don't say any last words, Claire. Oh my gosh, I am the worst podcaster ever.
Any last final words?
Podcast available on two streaming services and YouTube. Anything you want to share with the community before we head out?
I mentioned that big autistic resource guide that's free to be featured in if you have a business. I just want it to be like the neurodivergent phone book. So you can email me submissions at momonthespectrum.life to be featured in that. You can also download it for free. Just go to my website, momonthespectrum.life/resources, and you can find a lot of my other content there as well.
Well, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for inviting me. I love working with you. I'm really grateful that
I can't believe it's finally my time to have you on my channel. I couldn't
yeah,
be
it's
I
long
was like,
overdue.
"I'm sure she's been on my channel before, but you have not."
No, it was time for it. So yeah, thanks for inviting me, and I'm glad to be a part of this super cool series.
Alright, well, bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Tune in next time.